Hello, everyone. Welcome to Viewpoint with Media Shippers. Every great story in the media world doesn't just reach audience just like that. It travels through strategy, partnership, and vision. And today, we are speaking with someone who has spent over 2 decades building exactly those bridges. From the early days of telecom driven content to shaping digital first strategies for leading brands, for leading media brands, and now driving global distribution in the fast and OTT ecosystem. Welcome to Viewpoint with Media Shippers, and thank you very much, Archita, for joining this call. Welcome.
Thank you, Sheetal. My pleasure joining here and being here. And thank you for a lovely introduction. Definitely, 2 decades makes me feel much older, but yes, it's quite a positive and very energetic introduction for myself. Thank you so much.
Archita, when I was reading, I realized there is a statement saying that what stand out is not just experience, but a consistent ability to anticipate where the industry is headed. My first question actually comes from the very curious podcaster's point of view. That when you look back, was there a moment which you realized that this is your industry and you want to get into this industry, or this happened
Yeah.
some other way? Can you please elaborate and explain on that?
Sure. I mean, it's been a lovely journey till now, and I will want to go back into the time and come from where I have come. Actually, I was part of finance and planning industry, and that's where I realized that this is not where I belong, and I wanted to get into full-time entertainment or advertising. That's where I started looking into advertising agencies and stuffs, and I happened to be part of one of the media and entertainment hub house, which is Hungama. So I started my career with Hungama. And definitely Hungama was very much into content, but that time content meant very different things. It was about ringtones, it was about WAP, it was about wallpapers, screensavers, and that's how the ecosystem of mobile entertainment has actually begun. I mean, that time we just were on non-smart devices, but entertainment in mobile has been through those many years. Up till now, of course, the journey's been very different, very amazing, and we are now in the world of AI, where we begin the entertainment industry from your mobile ringtones and your websites and all of it. But it is a very interesting journey so far. I have seen the entire evolution of how mobile entertainment has emerged from where it was to today, doing VOD, OTT, fast channels, and whatnot. Like, even the entire TV journey has changed, even the entire mobile consumption has changed, and it is going to keep evolving as time comes. But it was not, accidental of me being here, but it was very much by my choice, and I have loved the entire journey till date. In understanding content, in packaging content, marketing content, PD, everything related to content, and it's always been the epicenter of whatever I have done till date.
Ajita, when you are mentioning about all these things, two very natural things come to my mind. One is the content piece, and another is the distribution side of that.
Yes.
Even in that, in your overall whole experience, your very interesting journey which you just mentioned, in that space also there is something called new platform kind of thing get introduced, and of course supported by different devices. The entertainment landscape has completely changed. What it used to be 15 years back, what today is completely a massive difference. And I think it is keep evolving. The concept of experience, the expectation of user with respect to device, with respect to platform, the understanding of the content, everything kind of change, kind of evolve. Did you feel at any point that this particular change is really making a significant difference? How do you find audience persona? How do you find audiences changing their consumption pattern over the period of time?
It is overwhelming in a way because you are catering to different audiences, different target group, different devices, and different format of delivering this content. Today, the same content has been delivered into so many other formats. Like, you can see one movie over YouTube, you can download the OTT app, you can you can watch it, you can hear podcast. I mean, there are so many ways of consumption of the content. So I mean, it's not that one is cutting over other, but there are ways that they all are coexisting today. Like, there has always been a thing where people have mentioned that TV doesn't have a future. TV is here to die, and it will have. But TV is also been evolving. Like, there is a time when people used to consume content over mobile and tabs and laptops and all of it, and the same thing has now transferred into a large screen movie viewing. So TV has been not your traditional television, but it is a screen type. I mean, it is a large screen type which occupies most of the Indian and global households, and it is here to stay. And that's how I feel that everything has been a very different journey. YouTube has made people how to watch content. Then there was a time when there was TikTok. It also became like, Insta Reels, and now people are consuming vertical drama. There is micro drama industry which is growing up. There is fast channel. So way to consume content is changing, and it will keep changing and evolving for sure. But the entire crux and the entire thing still lies that people are hungry for content, and so the content consumption is never going to die. Only the mediums to consume content and only the mediums to deliver the content will keep changing, and that's here to stay for sure.
Correct. Interestingly, Achita, when I'm just reading some article, learn about fast, exploring about the OTT, SVOD, PVOD, and all this thing, I realize it's every. You're very right when you mentioned that content consumption is always evolving. Everyone is going to consume the content in their own style. It's just the format change. It's just the platform being different, but people are still consuming the content in different
Yes.
sometimes same content even being consumed in a different format in different devices. But this is the content side of the story. But when you acquire the content, or specifically for a particular reason or for a particular channel, does that also change the dynamics? Like, how is a fast viewer different from OTT or broadcast viewer? And based on that, do you feel that there is a change in consumption pattern as well as an acquisition pattern?
I would say there is a change in consumption pattern of consumers, but then again, because sometimes why there is a rise of vertical drama, because I mean, people are living in such a fast-paced world that they don't have time to see a 45-minute episode. They would rather want to have a quick entertainment in that 10-15 minutes and whatever shows they can browse through. Similarly, coming to fast is a passive form of entertainment consumption, and fast is also a linear format. It's a laid back form of content consumption, and again, it is complementing your SVOD. But since SVOD is again an appointment based viewing where people are selecting what they want to watch and how they want to watch, when they want to watch, versus fast is a different format where whenever it's like a TV channel, right? Whenever you will log into any of the fast channel, it is going to play you a programmed content. So there are times when people don't want to make a choice of what they want to watch. They want to start a particular channel, have a laid back and a passive watching, and that's where fast comes into play, where people really want to watch meaningful content but in a passive and a laid back scenario. Where they don't want to select and watch, where they just want to keep watching a show after the other. And the fast, it doesn't mean that, like when there is an appointment based viewing, it means that 10 episodes of the same show is like you are binge watching. Fast is not binge watching, because fast is different programmed channels and content one after the other. Again, when it is coming to acquisition, each platform has a different acquisition requirement, right? I mean, what I want to acquire for a fast channel might be very different from what I want to acquire for my SVOD viewers or my TVOD viewers. So definitely there is a strategy change, which we look into when we are acquiring of content, or when anybody is acquiring content today. They need to understand their audience and the platform where they are going to be displaying the content.
You mentioned one very interesting aspect. Basically, when the consumer or the audience is watching some content on the SVOD versus fast, there is a very significant difference about the appointment viewing. You just mentioned this word, appointment
Yeah.
viewing. Coming to that point, I think this is my view, and I may be completely wrong also. From what I sense, that fast is giving democratization of the content. Why? Because if there is a set of content which is for a programming guide being stable or established for, let's say, for a good 30 minutes you are going to watch this, or 40 minutes you are going to watch, you are giving a plethora of option to your audience. Sometimes what happens, me as a viewer is just hooked by just that 5 series on SWOT, probably missing out some very great content. And this is altogether a very different format. So fast is allowing you to
Yes.
watch the content in more democratic way, or at least allowing you to have different choices and allowing a newer set of audience to watch some content in an interesting way. So what makes content truly fast ready according to you? Is it volume? Is it the format? Is it the nostalgia element? Or programming strategy? How does you look at this?
As you rightly said, right, content discovery has been always an issue, and how much ever new content is getting pumped in, as much content discovery is becoming an issue, or probably not from a consumer point of view, but also from the content provider point of view, because as much content you're putting in, you need to communicate back into consumer, okay, this content is available here, and for the same reason, even the consumer is confused on what he wants to watch, because not everybody is coming with a very very mindset that okay, I want to watch this particular show on this particular content. There is so many times that people are just coming, browsing, tumbling upon something, starting to watch something. So I think fast is something which fast channel comes into play to actually kind of be a solution for this problem, because here since it is a laid back and passive watching, you are forced to watch whatever is playing. So probably you stumble upon something which you would have never by choice probably searched or watched, and then you did not know also that this content actually existed. And programmatically wise, and what actually is a success of fast is when people do not want to actually think or decide on what they want to watch. Like TV is a very classic example. Like why TV has been ruling all over, for this many years, because of you just select a channel, and sometimes you're doing something and the channel is playing, and not necessarily you are actually interacting or watching the channel. Fast is also a very similar format. And what makes it interesting is also the programming of fast. Though fast programming is very different from the TV programming, because it is meant for a particular set of audience and a particular channel program. There are different formats which has worked for fast. Nostalgia, as you mentioned, is one of the format where people would want to prefer to watch classics. So there is, you will find a classic channel, or you will find an only music channel, or you will find probably a comedy channel which is on fast, because it is it is a non-stop comedy. So it is a comedy after comedy in different formats. So it is a very genre specific, and fast also can be very niche. So you can select the topic, you can select what you really want to watch, and you can be very specific, and then you can start watching content in particular genre. So like today, for us, we are a regional specific channel. Jojo is a regional specific channel. So anybody who wants to watch a Gujarati entertainment channel, they just need to know, okay, they just have to get on the Jojo TV over a fast channel, and they can watch content into Gujarati language, which is an entertainment and masala based content.
Because I am about to come on that very important point, that is channel number 379. Now,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Now, for the Gujarati diaspora across the globe, and who are having this LG channel or LG television set, they have
Yes.
that content available for them. Which even if you go to the SWOT, probably this kind of premium content may not be available. I am not commenting,
Yeah.
sharing my individual thought, but for the Gujarati community, for all the people staying in the world, different part of the world, want to watch the
Yes.
Gujarati content. It has the rich culture of drama, theater. Gujarati theater is very good actually,
Yes.
and the artists are coming from that part of the business, that part of the industry, then contributing in different kind of like series or whatever we are creating, or Zozo app has created, or taken as a part of their library. So this is something very interesting for a lot of people. So many
Yes.
congratulations on that first of all. But when you actually think from this angle of having this content, you mentioned about the element of nostalgia, you mentioned about a couple of interesting elements. But one thing is this I'm curious to know about this, that how do you balance between the library content, if I may say so, versus the fresh acquisition in fast channel, particularly because you have library content which you just mentioned, some really great content already been existed, and there is a natural audience for this. But at the
Sure.
same time, fast is also looking for newer set of audience, right? So how do you like make a balance of this?
Yeah, sure. So let me highlight you one more fact that there is only one Gujarati TV channel which is available right now in the country. One or maximum two. So there are no TV channels which are available, in the country, which are Gujarati TV channels. So definitely, we are solving the need gap in terms of, with the fast channel. We are also solving a need gap that there is no TV channel which actually people would want to log into and like literally start streaming the content over, like viewing the content over TV. So when we launched Jojo TV, it was with a very primary objective that we want to give viewers or the consumers that want to actually stream Gujarati content, that it has to be right on their remote control. So that is also one of the factors that why we wanted to launch our fast channel, because there is no significant Gujarati TV channel today available in the country. There are only one or two options with a very limited entertainment landscape. So when you mean acquisition versus fresh content versus the nostalgia content, Jojo TV is a very classic example that we are trying to bridge the gap of people wanting to view Gujarati entertainment or consume Gujarati entertainment. While the S-Word app is always available, right? But when people don't know what to watch, and when people haven't understood that what actually their genre specific is, what they want to watch in particular language, that's the reason where Jojo TV comes into play. And we have a mix pelota of content, like we have dramas, as you rightly say. I mean, Gujarati dramas have been like world popular, and even today there are very few languages whose theaters are also till today have been a successful ticketed events, and Gujarati dramas are one of it. We wanted to bring that to people's living rooms and to people's mobile phones on entertainment. So we have a mix of content where we have Gujarati dramas, we have web shows, our own non-fiction shows, like we have a pet show, we have a cooking show. Along with that, of course, we have a very great library of Gujarati movies with us. What We are not relying on old or new, but we want to stick to the segment where entertainment is delivered irrespective. So though there is a mixed balance of old and new, because when we, it's a very theatrical release term that in 3 days a movie becomes old. On OTT, nothing is old because it stays there for a lifetime.
Right.
So we are not here into a cinema kind of an experience where Friday the movie is on and Sunday, if it is not working, then Monday the movie is old. The content is here to stay. So even after 3 months, I am watching the same content. For me, it is a new content for sure, because there is so much that we are putting out on the platform and on the content. We do not expect people to start watching and start consuming everything of it when it is launched. So while we want to make it aware to the consumers and our subscribers that okay, this is new which is coming, though they can take their own sweet time to start watching the content, because there are so many factors. You want to you can be in the mood to watch thriller today, you are in a mood to watch some comedy today. So depending on what you want to watch, the S-Word app is already available. The Fast app will help you discover the content in a better way, because if you don't know exactly what is there on the app and you want to have a laid back and passive experience while watching your TV, and we are a completely clean family entertainment content, so all the more reason that we wanted to be there on a large screen on a fast channel format, so that more and more people can watch us.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I believe that regional stories are getting second life because of the fast channels. The entertainment get a new definition, new address through fast channels, because there are some legacy content available in the market. There are some, not sure, there are some or other audience who is interested to watch some or other thing. And I also feel, and you please correct me and you please explain that also.
Sure.
I think fast is also playing a very crucial and significant role in cultural collaboration. what happened as an audience in the family viewing when I'm watching some content, my kid is not exposed to that kind of content which probably I have like watched
Yeah.
a year back, because now they are habituated to the SWOT, they are habituated to the new kind of consumption. But as a
Yeah.
family, when I'm viewing, and maybe once in a week, if I happen to see some particular series which is very popular in my days, maybe that association will bring them to that cultural root also. It may be or it may not be, but there is a significant possibility.
Right.
It's fast, and in SWOT there is a lot of like consumption pattern style and different there. But I'm truly excited to know the revenue model also about this thing. I don't want to know about the course as such, but what truly drives revenue in fast? Is it the scale? Is it the engagement, or targeting the precision? How does that happen? You can just help us with that, sir.
Sure. So see, Fast, as it rightly says, it's an advertising driven model, and it will always stay an advertising driven model. The eruption of Fast has happened through the Western countries, and we are now adapting, like how micro dramas have been, something which has come from the Eastern countries, and now we are adapting to it. So probably, these are new formats which were developed, and the reason of them being successful in Western countries is because the advertising expense that people used to pay on the TV channel have been very significantly high versus the ad rate and the CPMs of Fast channel, because it is a digital channel. But more and more brands are getting aware of the same thing, and more and more brands want to actually get into more fast channel advertising rather than a linear and a TV advertising. So it is always going to be an advertising driven model, but then there are very different formats as well in the same, like where we have the brands integration on the shows, we have brand sponsorships for the shows. So these are the different models. We also can start, like rent a movie kind of a concept on a fast channel. So all of these are different formats which are still evolving, but by far the most successful and the most prevailing is the ad supported model in the fast scenario.
Do you sense that advertisers are also evolving fast enough to unlock the full potential of fast channels, or you feel that still there is a significant gap and there's a lot of potential?
See, as I mentioned, there is a gap in how Western countries have adapted to fast versus us. Uh, so it is going to take some time for people to understand. Like, if you see any of the TV today, they have 300 fast channels, 200 fast channels. I mean, for to get that kind of a viewership and audience, you need to have that kind of a content which is going to be a pull. What I don't see is that tomorrow it is going to become another TV channel, and people are going to start subscribing to channels to even get to a fast channel. That I don't see it's going to happen in near future. But of course, definitely there are going to be different models. There could be certain models where bundling could erupt out of it, like you're buying some 10-20 fast channels together, something like that. But there is a gap in terms of the like people understanding the full potential of fast channels and starting to actually contribute to advertising over those fast channels. So it is very mainstream. So a lot of brands they have started to understand the potential of fast channels, because see, the main everything will boil down to how many impressions and how many streaming, what is the volume of people watching fast channel. Once the volume of people watching fast channels will increase, automatically people will start getting attracted to put in money and advertise those shows.
Actually, deal execution, content discovery, rights clarity, these are the typical challenge for any platform, according to me. And how to deal that is, everyone has their different viewpoint and different strategies altogether. When it comes to specific to the fast, how do you deal with this rights clarity, the deal execution, and most importantly, the content discovery part?
I mean, see, structuring a deal has always been challenged. So, whenever it comes to content-led agreements and contracts and stuff, and now with AI and a lot of things, people are starting to patent and have everything under a right addition and right discovery. So see, fast is again another mode of digital consumption. So it actually belongs into the same right categorization. Whenever you are getting rights for digital or for your own app or for digital distribution, fast channel is a byproduct of the same. But then there could be cases where when you are not owning the content, but you're acquiring content from a third party, then the rights might differ, and then you might have to call out for fast channel rights. And earlier there was no concept of YouTube rights. Suddenly there's become a concept of YouTube rights and digital rights and all of that, because YouTube for a very long time used to be under the digital rights section, but now YouTube is being called out as a different platform rights. Like satellite has always been a different rights. Till date, fast is not forming a different rights section. But of course, when people will start exploiting it more and people will see there is a volume of revenue coming out, of course there will be a time where it will come to an additional cost for an additional right platform.
That is going to be the natural extension from the money design point of view. Archita, there are different kind of content already being created. Sometimes the content which the fast channels are working on, the way you are like acquiring that content, how does you measure that, and how does that whole ecosystem work for the fast channel? Just wanted to know your viewpoint on this.
So we've been, steadily acquiring the content, looking at our own data points and what the consumer have been liking on our platform. As I mentioned rightly, that we have the average watch time for our platform is much higher than what we see of other OTT platforms and what we know by now. So I think it clearly sets the pace in terms of what we are acquiring, and that definitely also gives a very good benchmark for us in terms of what our audience is clearly liking. We also experiment with certain content types, or probably there is a new genre that we feel that people are wanting the content today. Like horror as a genre has suddenly emerged. A lot of people have started liking the content. Up till now, it was always thriller and comedy, rom-com, all of that. But then there are a lot of newer segments of content which are emerging, and we definitely want to build the content into those genres as well. Though our theme is very clear, and we still want to stick by with the family entertainment and being one-stop destination for entertainment in Gujarati genre, and we are clearly out there.
Archita, one question I couldn't stop myself to ask, specifically looking ahead at 3 to 5 years down the line, specifically on the fast as a channel. Do you feel that will fast be an extension of OTT or a dominant distribution model of its own?
I think fast is a dominant distribution model by its own, because while OTT does not limit you to kind of content you can keep putting in, fast has its limitation in terms of how much content can you put in, because it is an FPC driven model, right? You have to program your 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours. You have to have weekend specials, and the entire programming is very structured. It is thoughtful, versus SVOD or versus OTT, where you can put as much content as you want. You can do 2 releases a day, you can do 4 releases a month. It completely depends upon what your strategy and what your audience is expecting you to provide them on a daily, weekly or a monthly basis. But fast channels programming is quite different from how an SVOD programming could be.
Basically, curious and trying to understand that how does your acquisition filter basically change when you are buying for a niche community versus a niche community platform versus mass market streamers? How does that happen? Is there any logic or is there any particular pattern?
See, when we say niche and mass, I mean regional is niche, but again massy in the niche. So there are different parameters to it, because when we look at a language, like we consider ourselves as one entertainment channel, and because our audience is also fragmented. Like I am not only catering to Gen Zs or millennials, to old to old people, or So for me, at least at Jojo, what we want to try and acquire is that there has to be entertainment for every age group and every territory that the Gujarati diaspora is today residing, be it India, be it domestic, international, wherever. And each audience preference is also very different. So we try and have everything with us so that there is something for to watch for everybody. And of course, there are subsets and overlaps which keep happening. When it becomes massy enough, then of course you can have as much as you can, because there will be always an audience for your content. There will be it's a mass audience that you are catering to. So it is a very, I think it is a very thin line to say what is niche and what is massy enough, because sometimes a very niche content starts appealing to a mass population, and very massy content goes flat for the audience. So I think storytelling is more crucial for us. Like, if there is a good storytelling, we feel that there will always be an audience for it.
Correct. Now, AI coming into the picture, what dynamics you are sensing, the new scenarios you are sensing is going to change or disrupt in this particular model?
I think AI will always be an aid for the content, and plus also an aid for regional players like us, because localization, dubbing, subtitling are all going to become very easy. Though because the AI engines are not very still powered enough to do a Gujarati subtitling or a Gujarati dubbing, so we are still in a space of probably training the AI engines yet. But I think it will simplify and aid us in a way that human intervention for localization will become minimum. There will be cost effectiveness, and plus AI-led content always helps in building your storylines, and it's very visually impactful. We have seen successes of stories which have been AI-driven, and it's. But I don't think so. It can actually ever replace completely, because even today you can make out what is AI and you can make out what is natural. So probably static images, it might be difficult, but when it is coming into a full-fledged storytelling format, people would always want to have a natural shoot and probably a good movie which is actually naturally shot versus the AI. But then there is audience for both kind of a category. But no, I don't feel that it's going to replace. It will always complement the content industry.
My last question, basically, I'm curious to know more and more, but certainly, Archita, what is that one truth, or rather, what is your viewpoint for all the indie filmmakers who are creating their content? What is that one magic mantra you want to give it to them when it comes for them to get their content acquired to Fast Channel? How did they see storytelling is one part? What kind of content they should be ideally making? Is there any formula? Is there any magic mantra?
I don't think so that there is a differential treatment to be given for how do you want to make content for Fast Channel, because the content making still remains the same, whether you're making it for YouTube or SWOD or probably Fast Channel. I don't think so. Though, see, Fast Channel also, people have different formats. Some people have a longer format of Fast Channel. Some people have mini episodes and mini cuts, and then there is a different episode playing. So everybody's strategy is very different. So I think it has to be platform agnostic for now, because today if you ask me that how the content is to be made for micro drama or vertical drama, there is an answer. But if you today tell me that how to make differential content for Fast Channel, I don't think so it's needed, because for Fast Channel, the main bottom line remains in how the content is programmed on the Fast Channel than how it is made, because it is the same content that you're going to tomorrow publish on the Fast Channel as well. Acquisition for a Fast Channel differently, I think volume of content in a good flow is something that will differentiate Fast Channel, and it's easy to plug in and it's easy to play. Yeah.
Perfect. I think at the intersection of creativity, technology, possibility, fast, S-word, T-word, and all this thing, we have a lot of interesting conversation. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for your viewpoint. So thanks, Archita.
Thank
Wishing
you.
all the success, and
Thank you so much, Sheetal, for having me.
thank you. All right. Thanks everyone. Stay tuned for next episode of Viewpoint with Media Shippers. Thanks to Archita.